Hello and welcome to my review of the Dragon Touch A93 9-inch Android tablet. I've had this tablet for about 3 weeks now and put it through its paces and have a pretty good idea of what it's capable of. First of all, let me start with just the features, the specs of this tablet. It is a 9-inch. It has a quad-core processor. It's running Android version 4.4, which is the KitKat version. It has 8 gigabytes of flash and 1/2 gigabyte of RAM. It has a micro SD port, a micro USB port, front and back 2 megapixel camera, a built-in microphone, and it supports Wi-Fi. Some of the sensors that some Android tablets may or may not have that this tablet does not have, most notably Bluetooth is not supported on this tablet. So if you're looking to stream your music to a Bluetooth speaker, this tablet cannot do that. It also lacks a GPS and it lacks a 3D positional sensor. So certain applications like Google Sky Map are not going to work with this app because it relies on the compass and 3D positional sensor to allow you to point at the sky and view what you're looking at. It does not have a cellular radio like your cell phone would. So this tablet is limited to basically, if you want connectivity, internet connectivity, it's limited to Wi-Fi, and not really a problem for me. I typically use the tablet when I'm here at home and I have a Wi-Fi network, so it works out pretty well for me. The tablet's strong points. Well, as you see, it's got a nice 9-inch screen. The screen is pretty good, I would say. Viewing angles are not great. I mean, it does sort of fade out a little bit if you get too much off center. But typically when I'm looking at my tablet, I'm pretty much centered on the screen, so the display itself is actually quite nice. One of the things I wanted to mention about this tablet is that Dragon Touch has disabled one of the Android 4.4 features, if you want to call it that, which limited you to not being able to read and write to contents of your SD card. Applications basically are now limited to one directory on your SD card, and they cannot read or write outside that directory. And there's actually a new API they must use to even access the SD card. This is very restrictive. Many people have complained about this feature in Android 4.4. But to Dragon Touch's credit, they've disabled this feature. So this tablet, even though it's running 4.4, can fully read and write to any directory on your SD card. If you'll notice, I can go to my external SD card. I can read and write to any of these directories without issue. And what's kind of interesting that I haven't seen on another Android device is I can actually browse the Linux file system. Here I am at the home root directory, and you can see all the Linux files that this is the underlying OS to Android. Android runs on top of Linux, and so you can actually go in here and look and see all of the Linux files which are loaded on this tablet, which normally you would not have access to. Now, some of these, the tablet is not running with root privileges, so there are restrictions on what you can do. You can certainly browse the file system, but you cannot, without rooting this device, and I don't know if there's a way to do that yet, you cannot actually open a Linux shell and start typing commands like you could with a rooted device. But it is nice that, at least with respect to being able to save data on your external SD card, which, since this device only has 8 gig of internal storage, it makes it more important that you're able to have full access to your SD card to store whatever type of information you want to store there, and be able to actually access that from your apps without this new restriction that they've placed. Okay, here we have Netflix. It's one of my favorite apps for this tablet. It works quite well. As long as you have a good strong Wi-Fi signal and high-speed internet connection, you can basically use it as a little portable television. I often, lay in bed at night watching Netflix, and as long as you have good signal, it works great for that. So in conclusion, I'd like to give this tablet, the Dragon Touch A93, a hearty thumbs up. For the amount of money, this tablet currently sells for around $75, and it's just an incredible amount of technology for such a low cost.